I have an interesting story. I met a man one day. This man, this one meeting, changed the course of my life forever. He put me from going through life in a vehicle like this to one like that. He asked me one question and made two statements that changed the vehicle that I drove through on life. His first question to me was, how much is the most amount of money you've ever made in 1 year? Well, I thought that was a bit of a personal question for him to ask me that, because I just met him. But I was introduced to him through a friend of mine, you know Mark Victor Hansen, who is the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And Mark said, this guy can help you. And I said, fine, I'd like to meet him. And he did, and he said he could help me make more money. And I said, okay. So he's asking me how much is the most amount of money I ever made in a year. So I figured I'd better answer him. And so I told him very proudly, almost a little boastfully, that I had earned $100,000 in 1 year. And I thought that was pretty good because I was only in my 20s and nobody in my family was making this kind of money, and none of my friends really were, and I was just 2 years into my own business. Any business owners here? So you know when you have your own business in the first 2 years, it's hard to make any money at all. And then to be able to make $100,000 as a speaker is quite an accomplishment because very few speakers make the $100,000 in a year. But I answered the question. And then he made the first statement. He asked me one question and two statements. His first statement to me was, that is garbage. I thought, how could you possibly think that's garbage? Then he finished the first sentence. He said, it's garbage for you to be making in 1 year what you could be making in 1 month. I almost flipped. I don't know what you would do if somebody said to you that you could earn in 1 month what you're now working to make in 1 year. But I didn't say to him, okay, great guru, lay it on me. Anything you want, I will do. I started to argue with the man. And I told him that I didn't have any extra money. Heck, I was earning 100, but I was spending 125. You know what that's like? Credit cards maxed out, line of credit completely full, living paycheck to paycheck, couldn't wait. That's the way. So I said to him, there's no way I could possibly make $100,000 in a month. Come on. It was way beyond anything I had ever thought of. And I started to tell him that I had come from poverty. And my family was supported by government handouts. I lived in the projects of Canada. I'm from Toronto. My father laid on a couch as an alcoholic for the last 10 years of his life, and we never had anything. And I was already earning $100,000 a year, and I thought that was pretty good. And so I was arguing with him all the reasons why I couldn't take that trip that he wanted me, that he said I could go on. And I started to tell him that I wasn't really smart. I was really good looking, so that helps, you know. But I said I'm not really smart. In fact, I got kicked out of school when I was 15. I did. And as I'm arguing with him and arguing with him and arguing with him, he made the second statement. It was worse than the first. He looked at me and said, you are a jerk. You notice I don't want to look at anybody, make eye contact when you say that to people. But I said to him, I couldn't believe that he called me a jerk. And he said he didn't mean to be rude, but if he'd been making this kind of money and more for over 20 years, he told me that I could do it. He says, without ever even entertaining the idea, he said, you reject the idea. Anybody who would reject that kind of an idea right off the bat is somebody who I have to call a jerk. And you know if somebody tells you that your income is garbage and you are a jerk in the first 5 minutes of meeting them, you better take some action, or you better stop arguing, or it's going to be a brief interview. I decided to listen to the man. 12 months later, I was earning over $1 million a year. My income went from $100,000 in a year to $100,000 in a month. How many people here would like to have something like that happen to them? Some of you didn't put your hands up. I'll tell you something, when that happens, when you go from this bike to this bike, I mean, your life changes. He said that I could do in 1 month what I used to make in 1 year, and I did it. And you know, there were several days last year when I earned that much. Now, I'm not telling you that to brag, folks. Okay, just a little. A little bragging's okay. I'm telling you that I'm the same guy who got kicked out of school when I was 15, who had started this journey with no money, with no experience. You know what I had? I was serious. If he told me to jump, I would say, how high? He told me to read a book, I read it. He told me to do something, I did it. I found a mentor and I did what he said.